inclusion of Interfaith 20 in the traditional engagement groups. Okay, the call has been noted, but how I can respond to your question is that in the early planning phase of the G20, we took into consideration as an incoming presidency last year that traditionally in the G20, the 13 engagement groups have been recognized throughout the presidency, starting from the time that engagement groups were incorporated into the agenda of the G20. So we followed the approach of the previous presidencies. Then we made a recommendation to Cabinet to recognize the 13 engagement groups with an indication as well that we will provide space. At the time, we knew that Brazil had been hosting had plans to host the social summit, and they'd spoken to South Africa as an incoming chair and a member of a troika of the G20 to say, can you continue and host the social summit under your presidency? There was an agreement. So at the time that we recommended to Cabinet to recognize the 13 traditional engagement groups and provide space for the informal engagement groups, we knew that the 13, we had followed the approach of the previous presidencies of recognizing the 13 engagement groups and providing space for the informal engagement groups to also do their work. So at this point, Cabinet has endorsed that recommendation to recognize the 13 traditional engagement groups and provide space, make possible for the informal engagement groups to do their work. So we cannot go back to Cabinet and request that a 14th engagement group be added. And on top of that, it would mean then that we cannot only recognize Interfaith 20. We need to recognize the others. Values 20 would expect the same treatment. Disability 20, Empower Alliance, all of them would come to us and say, but I hear what you're saying when you say Interfaith 20 is well organized, the machinery is recognized, and I agree with you. But if we were to then go back to Cabinet and say we are adding, one, it's quite late in the day. We are halfway through our presidency. Recommendations to Cabinet are seldom, I would say, resigned and nullified. Once a recommendation is made by Cabinet, it sticks. It's captured under the minutes. There was a Cabinet meeting yesterday. The recommendations that we made to Cabinet yesterday then would be captured and they would be recorded and minuted. So we cannot go back to Cabinet at this stage, halfway through our presidency, and say we want to add a 14th traditional or a traditional engagement group, a formal engagement group. What we can rather do then is to make note of the fact that there was a call for Interfaith 20 to be included as in the formal engagement groups, and then at the end of our presidency, make a recommendations. That's what we call a G20 review. That's also coordinated under G20 at 20 review, coordinated under our presidency. It can be one issue that we can, under the review to say, when we look at the social track, the engagement groups, currently the G20 recognizes the 13 traditional ones. Is there a possibility, can we explore as G20 members, the possibility of increasing this track to include further engagement groups that do work, but I regard it as informal? So that we can do under the G20 review, we can look and see if it's not one of the issues that we can throw on the table to say to G20 member countries, under the engagement groups track, what are we saying? Is there a possibility of expanding? When we review the G20 in its entirety, we can also look at engagement groups and say, is there a possibility of expanding? And if there is there's that appetite amongst member states of the G20 to actually increase that track, then that recommendation can be looked into and see what's the feeling of the member states regarding that. In terms of our own presidency, as I have indicated, we have gone to Cabinet. We have made a recommendation that the 13 traditional engagement groups be recognized. We have requested Cabinet to give space to informal engagement groups to do their work, and Cabinet has agreed. Hence, the President has agreed to convene the social summit.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. We're not doing well in terms of time.
I think there was also a question that came to side regarding how the media will know that the social summit will happen.
Yes.
And how the recommendation will be taken to the people. All right, I think in response to that question, I can indicate to you, madam, that there will be a clear communications plan that is included under the framework for the social summit. That communication plan then, what we are saying under the framework document is that the purpose thereof would be effective communication and of effective and official communication to ensure the successful hosting of the social summit. We will establish a dedicated communication team working with the presidency, DERCO, as well as all the stakeholders. We will develop a communication strategy that includes internal coordination among government departments and engagement groups and civil society. We will utilize a dedicated website and social media platforms to disseminate information and updates. We will have regular newsletters and press releases to keep stakeholders and the public informed. There will also be coordination with media and public relation offices to maximize outreach, as well as ensure transparency and accessibility of information to foster public participation. So there will be a communication management plan, and hopefully the media can also be a stakeholder or invited in whatever the communication management plan will be planning and the events that will be organized.
Thank you so much for that response.
No, I think I'm covered. I just want to say to Marcy, the most